So let's talk about one of the most complex and hardest topics, but if this is applying to you, I think it's incredibly important. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Athol. This is The Dateable Marriage, and let's just jump into it. And today, this is going to be a sort of a heavier topic than normal. Like I said in the intro, if this applies to you, I think you're going to be interested. If it doesn't apply to you, I think you really can just kind of skip this video. But it's going to be long because I want to be kind of thorough with it, and I want the people who this truly affects to get the sense that I am actually somewhat compassionate and really truly sympathize about it. But it is a much more complex topic than my usual 5 minutes and let's go on with our lives and everything. Cool. So let's jump into this. So I had a comment yesterday from Margaret Campbell. Hi Athol, I wonder if you've considered the high level of female childhood sexual abuse that occurs in Western society. In Australia, for example, a report issued by the Australian Institute of Criminology reports that 38% of females suffer childhood sexual abuse before the age of 15. These are reported cases only. Do you consider the effects of this type of trauma on female sexual response? And I did reply with a comment here, and this is hopefully a longer, more nuanced response to it. And I want to talk about this from both the male perspective and the female perspective, because I think the male perspective in some of this gets lost, and I think this is incredibly important. So let's just assume, and of course this happens to both men and women, both boys and girls are sexually assaulted, but let's just assume for the sake of argument, for the sake of this video, that we're just talking about female childhood sexual abuse. So the core problem is that childhood sexual abuse does do real significant and lasting damage. It is incredibly significant. And the people who are the victims of childhood sexual abuse then go on to, as adults, to struggle to have relationships where they can truly accept and express love, where they can accept and express affection, and they can accept and express a really good, healthy sex life. And of course, if you're struggling with love, sex, and affection, you are by default struggling to participate in what I would call the dateable marriage, where things are going good and you're attracted and there's lots of positive chemistry. And you can see that just how long-lasting some of this trauma is when, like, for example, when Donald Trump got elected president and that whole grab him by the pussy thing was just exploding and blowing up. Every single one of my male clients who had a wife who was the victim of some sort of sexual trauma, whether it was childhood sexual abuse or she had been raped or assaulted or whatever it was, every single one of them lost their mind for a good solid month. It was like they're being re-victimized. They were completely triggered by it. Like, how can this guy who is this sort of sexual monster get elected to president? How can everyone agree with that? And I don't want to get into the whole Republican Democrat thing, but just that topic of sexual assault totally triggered them all years, for most of them, years, decades after the fact of the things that had happened to them. So it really does have this lasting problem. And for my male clients, for the guys I talk to that have wives with this history, the overwhelming majority of them are really good guys. They're pleasant, they're agreeable, they're hardworking, they're sympathetic, they're compassionate, they hold a job, they're great for the kids, they help around with the house, and they are genuinely in love and love their wives and are attracted and want the best for her, and they are just, oh my God, they're just so earnest in their desire for a positive relationship with her, and they are so hurt and they feel so lonely and rejected and unwanted when they just bounce off her shields day after day, month after month, year after year. They are doing everything they can to have a good relationship. They're doing everything I've suggested, everything I've said. They've read the books, they've watched the videos, and they are following through on the good husband routine to a T, and they bounce off her shields. So this is why I say, sexual assault, sexual abuse causes real damage, which makes it harder and harder to have a real relationship, which makes it a red flag to be in a relationship with someone who has this kind of history. And I can look back for myself. Before I met my wife, there was a girl that I was just completely besotted with. To the point where everyone around me knew I was totally in her. I had absolutely no hope of ever dating anybody else because everybody knew who I was really into. But she also had this history of childhood trauma and childhood abuse and sexual assault and all this sort of stuff. And I could tell she had this hard no just built into her, just shields built up. And she knew that you could love her and care about her and like her, and it was still... the shields were up. And I can really remember one particular day. We went to the same college, and the college kind of straddles the main road, and between the two big buildings, there is a big covered bridge that goes between them. And I totally remember one day, I was coming through from one side, and I could see her coming from the other in the distance, and I did the big happy smile and held my arms up to give her a big old hug, and I can remember her shutting her eyes and gritting her teeth and pulling her arms in and just clenching her books to her chest and just shaking. And she just walked a straight line, and I just let her walk past me. And I'm sure if I had followed through on that relationship, if I had followed through on her, if I had ended up marrying her, I would have been in a marriage where I just bounced off her shields for most of my marriage. As it was, I married someone that didn't have that sexual abuse history, and I've had a very good marriage, a very open, kind, affectionate, loving, connected sexual marriage. I've had this dateable marriage. So it really is sort of a red flag to guys. Do you get involved with someone that has this history? And at this point, I'm sure some of the women watching are all but pulling their hair out, screaming at their computers, oh my God, you can't say don't marry these poor women, because now it's like they're up for a whole second round of victimization. They were children when it happened to them. They did not make a choice. They were totally powerless. Bad things happened to them. Now they're damaged, and now you're saying you should write them off for relationships as adults. This is a whole second round of victimization. And I want to be completely clear about this. I feel very conflicted about saying what I've said, but I think it just has to be said. I have seen so many guys just heartbroken and lonely and rejected in their marriages because they're with someone that has had this happen to them. Truly heartbroken, truly lonely, just miserable. So I do feel I have to say it. And this is, of course, why women don't come forward. Why they don't say anything. Why they don't announce it. This is not things you bring up on the first date. Oh, by the way, my uncle touched me when I was 9. No one brings this stuff up. Because I think there's a true fear that it somehow marks them as unlovable, unwantable, that you should shun them and not be in a relationship with them. Why would they bring it up? It makes total sense to me that women would be very quiet about this. I don't think we should be asking the question like, why don't they come forward? It's really remarkable when they do come forward. So, what is the way forward from this point? I think you have to accept that if childhood sexual abuse does real damage, the only true way forward is to try and repair and heal and recover from the damage was done to get some kind of wholeness. And when you have the best wholeness that you can have, you are not going to have those problems in relationships that you would have had if you didn't have that damage healed. And which is why my advice to men fully is, once you get past the default, maybe not, is to really dig into, okay, so this bad thing happened to her. Tell me the story arc. Tell me the learning curve. Tell me the road to recovery, how you got past this, or what you're doing to get past this, how you are working on this. Because to me, it's actually a fairly positive thing if someone could tell me, yes, this bad thing happened to me. This is what I did to recover from it. This is how I moved on. This is how I am now, how I've developed from it, how I've changed, what I've learned, and how I interact with the world. That to me is really laudable, because the truth is, sexual abuse pain is not special. It is not the most special pain in the world that we must then just all work around it forever. Life is long, life is hard, and bad things are going to happen to you. They're going to happen to me. They're going to happen to everyone. And there's going to be many, many things in your life that happen to you out of your control. I'm 47. I've lived through at least 3 major recessions, probably 4, maybe 5, or whatever it is, depending how you count them. People are going to get you're sick. You're going to get sick. Your family is going to get sick. Your parents are going to die. You're going to be a perfect employee, and you're going to be downsized, made redundant. The factory is closed. There's going to be a natural disaster where you live. Life is going to throw a whole barrage of bad things at you over the course of your life. And they are all going to cause pain, and they're all going to be traumatic, and the pain from all of these bad things is not special. And the truth is, nobody much cares that you're in pain apart from you and maybe your immediate family, your husband, your wife, your kids, your mom, your dad. Beyond that, most people, it doesn't really affect their day. So it always comes down to you to have a learning curve, to have some sort of growth story, to have some sort of resilience, to have a story arc where you say, this is where life punched me, this is how I dealt with it, this is how I got up, this is how I moved on. And to me, having that learning curve, being able to tell that story, is the most important thing in terms of who you're going to get involved with as a lifelong partner. I'm far more interested in a story arc of the bad thing happened to me and this is how I grew from it than I had a perfectly nice life. I had a wonderful family. Nothing happened to me. I'm the top of my class. I'm the prettiest girl. I am the hottest guy. I'm super athletic. These are all nice things. They're all attractive. They're all appealing. But let me tell you, life is long and bad things are going to happen. And you never know how it's going to really be when you have to truly face adversity. So your pain is not special. Sexual assault and sexual abuse is generally bad. It causes real damage. But it's always going to be up to you to move forward from it and get the help you need. And I think you got to do a whole bunch of counseling. You got to do a whole bunch of personal growth. You have to chart your way forward. So, and I hope that kind of explains my overall thoughts about it and approach to it. Yes, it is incredibly serious. Yes, untreated, it is a major, major red flag. But if it is treated, it's far less of a green flag, and in fact it can be a positive thing that can show that this person has real resilience. So if you have had this happen to you, it's up to you to get the help that you need. No one is going to provide it for you. You have to go out and seek it. You're going to need professional counseling, therapy, what have you. And if you're the husband in this situation, you can be the perfect husband, and you can make no real progress until she gets the help you need. She needs, sorry. And you need to support that and basically gently push that to get the progress you want. So I hope that explains it all. I know it's a heavy topic and a lot longer than normal, but I really wanted to get you guys to have the sense of how serious I take it all. and how it is just sort of a deeply conflicting, troubling topic. It is not the end of the world. You can get help. You can be better. I just want to see that story arc. So that's it for today, and I will talk to you soon.